Aura, an energy that can be manifested by someone being intriguing or awe-inducing. Aura loss, when a person intentionally or unintentionally performs an action that depletes his or her aura. Aura farming, the act of purposely performing actions that can be perceived as intriguing or awe-inducing in an attempt to manifest aura. When it comes to aura farming, no one does it better than Dragon Ball characters. Almost every character in Dragon Ball has aura farmed at some point in time in the series. But who truly has the most aura amongst all of the aura farmers in Dragon Ball? Today I will be taking a look at every aura farmer in Dragon Ball and ranking them based on how much aura they have. I will mainly be focusing on characters that are canon in the main series timeline of Dragon Ball, mostly because I have a poor recollection of the events that occurred in most of the movies, as well as Dragon Ball GT. F-tier aura. Coming in at dead last is gonna be Murasaki. He's a lame ninja that tries to aura farm, but gets completely embarrassed by Goku. After Murasaki is the Ginyu Force. They all look lame, they hit goofy poses. Pretty much everyone thinks they're corny, including their boss, Frieza. But if I have to rank them, it would look like Goldo at the very bottom. Then it would be Jace, Berta, Raccoon, and Ginyu in ascending order. Up next is Android 19. The aura that Android 19 has is mostly based on being associated with Dr. Gero. He's always by his side, walking menacingly. His most notable aura farm is actually introducing energy absorption into the show when he absorbs a Kamehameha from Goku. Even though Goku had the heart virus at the time, the visual alone of Android 19 beating him up gives him an aura increase. However, Android 19 gets aura checked badly by Vegeta in the worst way possible, which overshadows the little bit of aura that he did have, which is why other fighters from the Red Ribbon Army, such as Major Metallitron, have the edge in terms of aura. Major Metallitron is basically the original Dragon Ball series version of the Terminator, giving him a similar aura to the Terminator. Goku struggles with him for a bit in Muscle Tower, but eventually ends up taking him down, slightly diminishing his aura. But what differentiates Major Metallitron from Android 19 is that Goku never makes him feel fear, so Major Metallitron doesn't die in embarrassment like Android 19 does. Ahead of Major Metallitron is going to be the Ox King. Many people actually fear going to Fire Mountain specifically because of the Ox King. He doesn't get embarrassed badly during the show either and just retires, so although he doesn't have that much aura, he never really loses any either. After the Ox King is going to be Krillin. Krillin usually aura farms when he's competing against normal humans, which gives him a good amount of aura around them, like when he easily one-taps what the audience perceives to be a very strong man with one punch, which boosts his aura. But he gets aggressively aura checked by pretty much every villain in the show. Ever since he was a child, one of his main attributes was being beat up and killed, a reputation that followed him into his adult years. But he does pull Android 18 later in the series, giving him some aura points back, but not enough to match King Vegeta. As the king of the Saiyans, I'd say that his aura surpasses Krillin's. Every Saiyan follows his orders and commands, even if it means shooting a baby into space. One of his most memorable aura farms is when he casually blows up a planet with a single wave of his hand. The main thing holding him back from being higher in the ranks, however, is him being aura checked by Frieza, and him even being aura checked by Beerus and forced to beg for mercy in front of his own son. King Vegeta might be the ruler of Planet Vegeta, but the fact that Frieza could walk all over him makes him look pretty bad in front of his people, resulting in him having less aura than Caulifla, who has free will and isn't just Frieza's slave. As the most skilled Saiyan in Universe 6, Caulifla is actually held in high regard by the gang she's the boss of. She loses a lot of her aura whenever she talks because she's just overall an annoying character. Even though the Great Saiyan Man is seen to be pretty lame, he actually has some impressive aura farms. During the times when he watched over West City, he caught a lot of criminals off guard with his superhuman strength, making them wonder why he was so strong. He also catches the curiosity of Videl, as well as the rest of his classmates, boosting the aura around his name due to the Great Saiyan Man's identity being a secret. However, the poses that he hits don't seem to be perceived well, which I think diminishes his aura a bit. But there is a movie about about him, so at least a good amount of people think he's cool. The second highest person in this tier is Yamcha. Back in the Desert Bandit days, Yamcha had a good amount of aura. He was just so mysterious and deadly. Whenever Yamcha did the Wolf Fang Fist technique and the wolves howled in the background, holy aura. Yamcha also has that athlete aura, being able to easily outperform any baseball team with his impressive physical abilities. Unfortunately, Yamcha gets his aura diminished by most fighters in the show. He first gets embarrassed by Tien. The worst loss yet was when Yamcha got killed by a Cyberman. The aura loss was so bad that this moment is often what would come to mind if you ask someone what the most embarrassing moment in Dragon Ball history was. He later loses more aura when Dr. Gero shoves his whole hand through his chest and makes an example out of him. But throughout all the highs and lows of Yamcha's career, I do think that he still has retained a decent portion of aura, since he's probably the best athlete on the planet, with fans who adore him, as opposed to the Great Saiyaman, who is only known by people in West City and an unquantifiable amount of people who may have watched his movie. Sure, Yamcha had his girl stolen by Vegeta, but it's implied that he's moved on in life since then, most likely getting a new girlfriend off screen. So although Yamcha doesn't have that much aura in terms of fighting, his aura in the professional world greatly outmatches the aura everyone else on this first tier has, except for Supreme Kai. When Supreme Kai enters the show, he instantly gets an aura lob from Piccolo, who kept pissing his pants every time he looked at him. Goku aura checks him pretty bad, however, when Goku put his hand to Supreme Kai's face and basically threatened to blow his head off his shoulders. But besides that, Supreme Kai doesn't really lose any aura throughout the show and actually retains most of it, which is why he's at the top of this tier. D tier aura. Nappa basically gets the same aura lob that Supreme Kai gets, but aura farms way more, increasing his overall aura. As soon as he crash lands from the sky, Nappa proceeded to wipe the entire city off the face of the earth. He also aura farms by demonstrating his strength when he flies through a jet, tearing through it like tissue paper. But even though he overpowered everyone, including the Z fighters, when Goku arrives, Nappa gets disrespected by him when he used the top of Nappa's head as a footstool. He also residually loses aura every time he opens his mouth, revealing how much of an idiot he is. Vegeta's right-hand man does not have the same level of aura as Frieza's right-hand man. Frieza has much more pull than Vegeta and is actually feared across the galaxy, so Dodoria simply gains aura by association. When Frieza blows up planet Vegeta, Dodoria was chilling on his side. When Frieza pulled up to Namek, Dodoria was right there. But what's keeping him away from being above Zarbon is the fact that Dodoria gets disrespected worse by Vegeta. Most of the things that I said about Dodoria in terms of being Frieza's right-hand man can be said about Zarbon, since Zarbon is always on the side of Frieza as well. The main difference being that Zarbon actually defeats Vegeta the first time within an inch of his life. Vegeta comes back and embarrasses him, of course, but not to the same extent as he did to Dodoria. King Cold has enough aura to make the King of the Saiyans bow to him and his son, but most of his aura is derived from being Frieza's dad. King Cold gets aura checked when he tries to use Trunks' sword against him, thinking that the sword was the secret behind the boy's strength. But this beating was not as brutal as what Vegeta did to Dodoria and Zarbon. I have to put Mr. Popo above King Cold simply because of the amount of aura maintenance he has over his already impressive aura. Kid Goku struggled to keep up with him in a fight, while Mr. Popo blocked all of his attacks, sat on him, and ate his Kamehameha blast while not showing a single emotion. He also manhandles both Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks at the same time, but although Kid Trunks got aura checked by Mr. Popo, the fact he is somewhat related to future Trunks means that Kid Trunks gains a little bit of his aura, not to mention his hyped up potential when he becomes the youngest Saiyan to ever achieve Super Saiyan and outshines Goku's son in terms of ki control and combat ability. Next are Android 17 and Android 18. They both receive an aura lob from future Trunks, being described as heartless monsters who are virtually unstoppable. The visual of how they both hunt down future Gohan and future Trunks and how they display their strength to innocent civilians helped with that description. They lose a lot of aura from being beat up by future Trunks and absorbed by Cell in the present timeline. They are also dressed pretty lame with their H&M outfits. In ascending order, as well as numerical order, Android 17 is right above Kid Trunks, and Android 18 follows because she gains a good amount of aura from breaking Super Vegeta's arm. I'm gonna put the Cell Juniors at the top of this tier since they are basically the less cool versions of Cell, but definitely beat the Z fighters up way better than 17 or 18 combined, giving them more aura. C tier aura. Once Caulifla fuses with Kale via the Patara earrings, she unlocks the power of Lululemon. Kefla gains aura simply by being mixed with the legendary Super Saiyan of Universe 6, who gets a little bit of aura from being somewhat associated with the Broly from the movies. Kefla has interesting new attacks, but still keeps the annoying personality that Caulifla had. She also gets aura checked by Ultra Instinct Goku, who dodges all of her attacks and eventually slides across her most powerful attack, and 200 pumps her in the head with a Kamehameha at point blank range. Even though Kefla is strong, she doesn't have a mystique or a threatening presence that someone like Dr. Gero possesses, which is exactly why he is ahead of her on this list. Upon arriving in West City, Dr. Gero aura farms the citizens and then crushes a car like a tin can. He is also the cause of one of the second most embarrassing Yamcha moments in the franchise, putting his hand through his chest and killing him. When Goku and the rest of the Z Fighters arrive, Dr. Gero levels the entirety of West City. The fact that Gero is able to absorb energy makes the Z Fighters fear him because most of them are not prepared for it. Dr. Gero then gets killed by Android 17, but since Android 17 is his creation, I don't view that as a loss because he made him. Dr. Gero may give his henchman, Android 19, some aura, but Deborah has so much aura that he gives his boss aura. And Bobbity is one of the lamest characters in the show. The main reason why this is probably due to the fact that Deborah was the current Demon King at the time, giving him a similar aura to that of Demon King Piccolo from the original series. His primary signature technique of spitting on people and turning them into stone is cool as well, making him a threat to the Z Fighters. But after Gohan breaks his sword, Deborah ends up fighting Boo, getting turned into a cookie by the pink powerhouse, and then gets eaten. But what about the other pink powerhouse, Manaka? Manaka is hyped up by Beerus to be even stronger than him, which is impressive because Beerus is the same guy that knocked out Goku with one flick, so Manaka gains a lot of aura based on that statement. However, this was all a lie, but Goku does not know that, causing him to train harder due to motivation. Beerus keeps up the facade of Manaka being stronger than him, and Goku never finds out. Compared to Manaka's reputation, which is co-signed by Beerus, the strongest fighter in Universe 7, Deborah's reputation is not as impressive. But unlike Manaka's reputation that's full of lies, Hercule's reputation actually has some truth in it, giving him the edge in terms of aura. Hercule is actually an impressive human, being able to pull multiple buses like it was nothing. He is always aura farming in front of the cameras, with so much aura that he's able to convince the entire world that he was able to defeat fighters like Perfect Cell, even though he gets aura checked by him on camera. And when Goku and Vegeta struggle to gather enough energy for the Spirit Bomb, Hercule is able to convince the entire world to pitch in to defeat Kid Buu. However, Master Roshi has more aura than Hercule. In the early parts of the original Dragon Ball series, Master Roshi was the definition of power. Not only is he a master of martial arts, but he's also the creator of the iconic Kamehameha wave that is used all throughout the entire franchise. A move that he uses to extinguish Fire Mountain and blow up the moon. Whenever he bulks up and packs on a ton of muscle, Master Roshi gains a massive amount of aura. As time goes on, however, Master Roshi's old age starts to show as he struggles to compete with some of the stronger villains of the franchise, because at the end of the day, Master Roshi is an old man, unlike the brother of his rival, Tao Pai Pai. Tao Pai Pai is immediately introduced as a threat. He is seen uprooting a pillar and using it as a hoverboard, using one of his shoes to deflect a bullet, and even killing a man with nothing but his tongue. These aura farms may not be as impressive as blowing up the moon, but the flashiness of Tao Pai Pai's feats give him more aura than Master Roshi's. But his aura starts to dwindle when he loses to a grenade. After that, he gets aura checked and surpassed by one of his students, Tien, which is why Tien is ranked above him. Tien Shinhan was the top student of the Crane School in OG Dragon Ball. He was actually one of the first fighters to be able to fly, with even Goku not learning to fly until later in the series. There's also a special move called the Tri-Beam that is hyped up by Master Roshi during the 22nd World Martial Arts Tournament, as he speaks of the move's absurd destructive power. He aura checks Yamcha, Goku, and Tao Pai Pai during his prime. After his prime, he is subjected to being a background character, losing most of his fights, but Tien has this tendency to die with a warrior's death, in stark contrast to how someone like Tao Pai Pai loses an embarrassment, which in my opinion doesn't result in him losing any aura from it. Gotenks is hyped up during the Buu saga as the guy that will beat Buu, and when he first appears, he debuts a brand new hairstyle with the black on top and the purple on the bottom, which actually looks really cool. Shortly after he debuts, however, he gets aura checked by Fat Buu, and then later gets Lil Broed by Super Buu. But once he goes Super Saiyan 3, Gotenks recovers all of the aura that he lost. Super Buu gets flexed on by Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, who he later absorbs. In the Super Saiyan God saga, Super Saiyan Gotenks gets spanked by Beerus, depleting his aura a considerable amount. But even after Beerus embarrassed him, many were still disappointed that he did not appear in Dragon Ball Super Hero, implying that Gotenks did not lose that much aura at all. Definitely not as much as Tien. After all, no one was mad that Tien didn't appear in Dragon Ball Super Hero. B tier aura. Frieza has so much aura that he gives every single one of his henchmen aura since they work for him. Frieza's first aura farm is when he blew up planet Vegeta with one finger while he was only in his first form. His entire form system is also one big aura farm that makes people fear him even more because of the fact that no one had seen him go beyond his first form into the Namek saga. And as an adult, he aura checks all of the Z fighters on Namek, with him actually being the first person to make Vegeta cry. But Frieza later gets embarrassed so bad by Goku that Goku actually starts to feel bad for him, gets sliced up and blown to bits by Trunks, and aura checked by Beerus in the Resurrection arc, and then beat up badly. But he gains some of the aura back with his new transformations. Golden Frieza is just a cool form overall, and Black Frieza allows him to one-tap full power Goku and Vegeta with their new forms. This gives Frieza a ton of aura, but not as much as Whis, who was able to take on full power Goku and Vegeta with a single finger. Within Universe 7, Whis is the ceiling of power that no one can surpass. This gives him a lot of aura simply because no one has ever made him break a sweat, or even use an effort at all for that matter. His power allows him to be worry-free in perilous situations, giving him aura because he has never been caught being scared or disrespected. Without his indomitable power, he's just a guy with a staff and a vanilla swirl haircut, which is why someone like Raditz is way cooler than him. Raditz will be remembered by the way he pulled up to Earth and disrespected everyone. As he arrives, he immediately aura farms with his landing. Keep in mind, the audience had never seen a space pod landing in Dragon Ball before, giving Raditz a mysterious aura because little was known about him. He then catches a bullet from a farmer's shotgun, makes Piccolo fear for his life, and abducts Goku's son, with Goku being powerless to stop him. Sure, Raditz gets caught off guard by Gohan, but that doesn't overshadow the fact that he was so strong that Goku had to resort to jumping him, something that wouldn't happen again into the Tournament of Power. They also had to cheat by taking advantage of Raditz's tail weakness, and even then, Goku and Piccolo still barely won the fight. And when they did, they were not met with victory. They were met with a warning about the other Saiyans that would come to finish what Raditz started, which is why Raditz died with a haunting smile on his face. Whis might have been able to easily take on two fighters at the same time, but Raditz did it first and looked cooler while doing it. Kid Buu is similar to Raditz in the sense that they lose, but don't really lose, but he beats Raditz when it comes to aura due to him being more feared. Kid Buu is hyped up by the Kais to be Buu's most dangerous form, and he proves them right the way that he toys with Goku and Vegeta. Even Frieza, who is feared by multiple civilizations across the universe, doesn't want any problems with Kid Buu. The only time that Kid Buu loses a little bit of aura is when Vegeta is able to frighten him for a moment during their fight. The character with more aura than Kid Buu is the guy who beat him, Goku. Goku simply has been around longer than Kid Buu, giving him more time to aura farm, and every time that he aura farms, whether that be when he was a kid or as an adult, the message is the same. Goku is the strongest, Goku never loses, Goku is number one. But whenever Goku does lose aura, he usually turns it around by defeating the main villain, Being the first Super Saiyan gives him aura. The fact that everyone looks to him as the last hope gives him aura. The only time Goku lost a lot of aura without retrieving any of it back was the Android saga, when Goku got embarrassed by the androids and couldn't even beat the main villain. A tier aura. Cell starts off as a disgusting looking creature and then evolves into another disgusting looking creature after he absorbs Android 17. But once he absorbs Android 18, he becomes a specimen that has the aura of all of the Z fighters combined, including Goku, which is why he is ranked above him. As the perfect life form, it almost seemed like he could not be killed due to the fact that he just kept coming back again and again. The fact that Perfect Cell challenged the entire Earth to fight on national television also boosts his aura. Gohan ends up defeating Perfect Cell, establishing the Hybrid Saiyan as many viewers' favorite character in the franchise, which is exactly why he has more aura than Cell. Gohan throughout his kid years is constantly hyped up for his insane potential that was so great that he almost became the protagonist of the show. As a young child, he displays enough strength to surpass his father, and as a teen, he had enough power to save the world. Adult Gohan is basically the cooler version of Goku in the Buu Saga, donning the original orange and blue gi, but with much more aura. However, later on in the series, he gets so rusty at fighting that he gets one shot through the chest by first form Frieza, someone he would have easily beat as a child. With a little bit of training with Piccolo, he regains his ultimate form and does well during the Tournament of Power, and then builds back some of his aura from his teenage years by unlocking his beast form, which is basically a much cooler version of his Super Saiyan 2 state. However, not only did Super Buu end up absorbing Gohan, but he was also shown to have more aura than him in Super. When Fat Buu got skinny, everyone was hyped for him to be in the Tournament of Power. Why? Because they remembered how cool and strong Super Buu was from the Buu Saga and wanted to see him again. The same can't be said for Gohan. I'm pretty sure most people were indifferent to Gohan's inclusion in the Tournament of Power. Super Buu also gains aura that is associated with being the stronger version of Kid Buu, who is feared across the universe. Now, although Vegeta has taken more L's than Super Buu and Gohan had combined, I think he has more raw aura than Super Buu and Gohan. He's just consistently way cooler. I can't think of another character that takes as many L's as Vegeta and still is respected as a character. Vegeta has so much aura that even though he takes many losses during the series, many people still want to see him eventually win something. You can't say that about someone like Yamcha. He's also just super goal driven, to the point that he couldn't even become mind controlled. His monologues are always hype. He took Bulma from Yamcha. He even beats Goku every time they fight. Goku might be number one, but Vegeta is him. S tier aura. Beerus has the same Vegeta energy of being cooler than the stronger guy, but is never aura checked by anyone in the entire show. Pretty much everyone bends to his will in fear of being wiped out of existence, giving Beerus what is basically Frieza's aura, but on steroids. As soon as Beerus pulls up to King Kai's planet and one-tap Goku's most powerful form at the time with a single flick, he cemented himself as an unsurpassable force, a force that hasn't even been surpassed by mortals to this day. With that being said, Future Trunks has more aura than Beerus. Beerus might have cool abilities paired with a cool reputation, but Trunks is the definition of cool. That's the entire point of his character. Trunks doesn't need to do too much because every time he does something, it's always a W, especially when he went back to his original timeline to take out the androids. Trunks' reveal with all of his twists was much more interesting than Beerus' as well. First we learn of Trunks, a mysterious fighter that we've never seen before. Then we learn he's a Super Saiyan, which is confusing since Goku and Vegeta were supposedly the last of their kind. And then we learn that Trunks is actually Vegeta's son from the future. However, Trunks' aura isn't enough to match Goku and Vegeta's aura combined. Trunks simply cannot compare to the amount of aura that is culminated when Gogeta hits the scene because of the fact that Gogeta had the cool factor of Trunks without needing help from others to help him win. So even though he's dressed like a genie, his reputation puts him ahead of future Trunks. Z tier aura. Hit aura farms effectively during Dragon Ball Super as he shows off a technique that is unlike anything we have ever seen before. Goldo had a similar power, but not to the same extent. He looks cool, he never really gets embarrassed, and he adds a sense of mystery because of the fact that we don't know what he potentially could be capable of in the future. But Piccolo is the original version of Hit. He was the original guy with interesting new techniques that fought in a more clever manner. Even in his past life, Piccolo was flexing his power by taking over the world, naming a holiday after himself, and threatening to blow up a country every year on that aforementioned holiday. His caped outfit that he wears, as well as the fact that he's been around longer than Hit, gives him much more aura than the Purple Assassin, especially when Piccolo becomes Orange Piccolo. If Gohan is the cooler version of Goku, Bardock is the even cooler version of Goku. So cool in fact that he actually gets his own special named after himself. You could argue that Piccolo and Bardock have around the same level of aura, but I think that Bardock has more aura simply because he's a Saiyan, and Saiyans are more hyped within Dragon Ball. But you know who's even cooler than the coolest version of Goku? Vegito. Vegito has all of Vegeta's aura, but with Gogeta's reputation of always dominating fights. Plus he has a way cooler outfit than Gogeta. So although Bardock has the most aura of the unfused Saiyans, Goku and Vegeta's combined aura with the Patara earrings greatly surpasses his. And finally, the character with the most amount of aura on this list is none other than Jiren the Grey. Not only is he constantly receiving aura lobs from everyone during the Tournament of Power, having been stated to be on par with God of Destructions, he has proven in tournaments that he is actually the strongest fighter in all of the 12 universes, since no one could successfully defeat him single-handedly, not even Goku. In fact, most people can't even get past the barrier of ki surrounding his body. Jiren aura checks everyone at the Tournament of Power way harder than Vegeta aura checks Super Buu or Merged Zamasu.